Think we're recording already.
Okay. Welcome to the Ninja Gym Owners Roundtable. My name is Allie. I am the co-host of the Ninja's Way podcast and the CEO of Ninja Gym Academy, which is a consulting company that helps start ninja gyms. And so we are on this event today to talk about something that is really massively important to our sport, which is the exclusivity clause around the WNL and how this affects leagues, gym owners, athletes, and parents in the industry. And so today we are also joined by our co-host, Jake, and I will let him introduce himself.
Hey, everybody. Jake Marshman, founder, CEO of Conquer Ninja Gyms, co-host of the Ninja's Way podcast, and part of the ninja community. Yeah, we got quite a group here today. We're trying to get representation from the gyms, from the leagues, from parents and ninjas themselves. Welcome, everybody, and let's get it started.
I'm going to turn it over to Chris to start. We're really sitting here because of him and his bold call out to gym owners to fight against this exclusivity clause. And this is something that has plagued our industry for a long time. It's by no means nothing new. It's been around for the past 10 years, and it has created some issues within the ninja community. But this has recently been resurfaced and a really hot button topic around the ninja community. And Chris, I would love for you to speak on this and give us your perspective.
Yeah, so I can start, and I invite Ethan to jump in as well. Ethan and I obviously co-own Ninja Sport Championship, Ninja Sport Network together. And so really this came about because I had gotten word from a few people that had reached out to me that this exclusivity clause was being talked about and floating around. And I thought it was important to make sure to put something out to all the gyms that we had hosted youth qualifiers with and to some of our athletes to let them know that this was something that was potentially going to happen. And I said it very clear in the statement that I put out that NSC supports the WNL. We mentioned the WNL in our live stream all weekend at the youth sectional. We talked about how athletes had made it to stage 3, and we talked about their worlds. I think that everyone can exist in the space together, and I think that it's important for the gym owners to have control over what's being hosted in their facilities. And in terms of the league's perspective, I think that the leagues are an avenue for athletes to compete. It's an opportunity for families. It's an opportunity for gyms. But at the end of the day, I feel like that's where the conversation ends for the leagues. The leagues should put out a good product, and in doing that, hope that people are looking forward to competing in that product. But I think that especially this conversation is definitely for the gym owners and the community to have. And I don't think that a league, especially everyone's in competition and should be at the forefront of the conversation. Swan.
Nice. Ethan, want to add that or chime in?
Yeah, I echo everything that Chris DeGangi just said. Excuse me. Yeah, I think the most important thing is just us letting people know, hey, this is what's happening. And then it should really be up to gyms, families, athletes, and how they'd like to respond. And through all of this, we're not advocating that anybody boycott any league, whether that's UNAA, FINA, WNL, NSC, any of that stuff. We think that all the leagues are great. I know when I used to compete forever ago, I took every opportunity to compete in any event that existed, and it was a blast, whether that was Wolfpack or WNL back when it was NNL. And I think that's awesome for families, communities, athletes to have access to, and I'd love for that to be the case moving forward. But I think, like Chris said at the end there too, is I think that kind of should be the end of the involvement from the leagues in this, and it should be up to the community to decide what happens moving forward.
Yeah, and the last thing that I want to say, and I'm glad that Allie said this at the beginning of the call, but I think the most important thing is, number one, I think we're just not looking for any division. I think the community itself has been so good at being supportive. It's what our community is built on. I know as a gym owner, I hear parents come in from other sports, and they're just very overwhelmed by how supportive the community is. And so I think it's important to keep in mind for this call. I think it's important to make sure that it's just focused on exactly what Allie said in the beginning of the call in terms of just the issue at hand. and to keep the conversation focused on that and not let it go in any other direction.
I would just like to say, as a gym owner myself, we're in an area where there aren't a lot of gyms in the Midwest. I know the Northeast is a lot more condensed. They have a lot more facilities. And I'm the owner of Ultimate Ninjas Naperville. And we hosted W&Ls the last few years because it was W&L that was the only one that we were able to host. And we hosted only 2 because we felt like if we did more, we wouldn't get the signups. We would end up not making enough money for the weekends. I know that if we had been able to, and if we are in the future able to host more competitions from other leagues, it would help our business. And the fact that I have put money into that business, I've put 9 years of my life into that business. I opened it from day one. I would like to just have the ability to host the competitions that were available, and we could choose which ones that we wanted to host. I think that should be the choice for all gym owners. And so that's just like my perspective on it. And I just think that should be available to the gym owners that have put so much heart and time into this ninja community and want nothing more than everyone to be accepted and for all of the gyms to be able to thrive in the best way that works for them.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you, Jesse. And I want to start us off with this question to lay some groundwork and get your perspective from you guys as gym owners. This underlying assumption is that these leagues are good for the gym. Do you feel like they are good for the gym? Why or why not? And in your experience of being a gym owner, what are the aspects of running and competing in these leagues that you guys feel is important in this conversation?
I'll jump in. Yeah, as we initially started just hosting or creating our own in-house comps, and they take a lot of energy to generate momentum and to pull in the signups. But we found that with league comps, NSCs fill up in 10 minutes or less. I don't know. It's ridiculous. And our WNLs fill up without us really having to advertise other than just posting on social media and hanging a few posters. And so it really affects the bottom line. But more than that, it's a way of pulling our athletes together. I think we brought 66 athletes to WNL Worlds, and the camaraderie among the families and the students, it's fun to watch how they collaborate and work together. And also on a personal level, when the NSC crew rolls into town, you just see people with a huge heart for the sport and for the athletes. And if I just do a rough crunch of the numbers and the prize money they're giving away and what they give to the gym, I think, like when they were in town last time, I gave them each ice cream from one of our vendors. And I think that's probably the only profit they've turned in since they started. I could be wrong, but part feels personal because we've built relationship, and we see just when NSC rolls into town, like it's a level of pride for us to bring our A game for these top athletes to build the best obstacles we can. And it's something unique. And when we host a league comp, like it's something that brings a lot of people together as well, enables all ages to compete. But the diversity of what each offers is super important to us.
Thanks, Jason.
Jason and I have been in the new, Jake's known us since day one. We walked into his teeny tiny gym in Minneapolis and thought, this is exactly what people want to do. With our kid background, we were teaching cheer, gymnastics, tumbling, fitness, and we fell in love with Ninja. And that was like 9-10 years ago. And our first experience with leagues was with the UNAA, and in the Midwest, like in the Minneapolis, South Dakota region, the comps were awesome and we loved what the Midwest had going on. And so there wasn't a big draw for the WNL, which was mostly on the East Coast. And then selecting leagues were like, man, I always said Ninja's in its toddler phase. It like doesn't know what it wants. It doesn't know what it's doing. And it's awesome, but it's just still figuring itself out. That was 5 years ago when I was saying that. And ultimately, we loved when the UNAA had FINA and what was it, USA Ninja, or they had multiple events at their world finals. So we want Ninja to be affordable, sustainable. We want it to be the best, like long term. And early on, when making decisions which leagues we were going to be a part of, we felt there was a lot of restriction with the WNL. I'm like, we would be fined for a lot of the rules in the rule book. I'm like, So like we just didn't align with their policies and their restrictiveness. And ultimately, we weren't that happy with the leagues in general. So we started the North Central Ninja Series. And that was the greatest thing for us as gym owners was to create something where we're working with gym owners we trust. We're working with consistency and people who love the sport and growing the sport. We're like, we want an entry level league that like all of our members feel like safe and excited to go and probably fail their first time. Doing what was best for us is your question is our leagues what was best? We've asked ourselves that. I'm like, the leagues are great. And yes, they add a good competitive edge to the sport, but where we've found the most camaraderie is in these like local leagues and people who are just passionate about the sport versus just like passionate about having the one best event. So that's been our experience. That was a little all over the place, but
Yeah.
that's just a little bit about what we've dealt with so far.
Something came up when you both were talking about that, Lacey and Jason, before that is, are these leagues profitable for gyms? Is it in the best interest of the gym? And Lacey, you guys have, I think everybody on this call has been around a long time in the sport of ninja. And back years ago, there wasn't a lot of leagues. It wasn't built. There was nothing really there except a couple leagues and then local gyms or gyms within your area. It's since changed. And I think that's what sparked this whole storm of conversation over the past week is there's way more options now, more leagues, more opportunity. And is it really about the gyms? Is this helping the members? Is it helping ninjas grow by limiting? I don't know. That question, which we'll go into a little bit too, is are these really profitable or can gyms make money at these leagues?
That's a great point.
I can provide a little insight from our perspective as well up in Pennsylvania, which is we're sandwiched in between the Northeast, New England, and Midwest. We're located in Northwest Pennsylvania, so I'm about 2 hours from Cleveland, 2 hours from Buffalo, 2 hours from Pittsburgh. So we've got a lot of pretty big cities that can jump into us, and I would say absolutely that the leagues can be profitable, which is exactly why there's this conversation starting. I think is because we're all here and we all are trying to do our best to build profitable gyms. And I think they're profitable in two reasons. One, a lot of the gyms that have good competitive programs can bring in additional revenue from having a good, high quality team that's out there competing on a regular basis, right? I think every owner out there would say that the rec classes definitely are huge in terms of bringing in income. But if there's no place for those recreational athletes to go, then eventually they're going to fall off and take on something else that has a more competitive nature to it. Because I think a lot of athletes are just competitive by nature, right? So there needs to be some place for the athletes to build up to as they go. And these competitive leagues are exactly an opportunity to do that. And we've always been a WNL gym from the very beginning, which is why this conversation is a little challenging for us to have because we certainly don't want to bite the hand that feeds us. We think that certainly if there were other opportunities, we would probably take advantage of them. We've gotten to know the folks at FINA. We were down at UNA and finals a couple weeks ago. Had a great experience there. I've got one of my sons competing in the NSC Elite division. He's signed up for 3 for this upcoming season, and he thinks it's the best format out there for the elites. I've got a lot of other kids. I got 4 other kids that are competing in the WNL leagues, as well as myself and my wife, and we've had a lot of great experience there as well. And anytime you can put together a competition where you can get a fairly large number of entries, I think there's an opportunity to make money. Again, because of our location, we're able to bring in between 150 and 200 athletes on a good competition, on a qualifier for WNL. And if we run that competition efficiently, we're certainly going to bring some money home. We've also been selected to be a regional host site for WNL. And when those run well, they can also make money. Conversely, if we have less registrations and put a lot of money into them, you can also not do as well. But I think in general, if we weren't making money on the competitions, I don't think that this would be as an important a conversation.
Stephen, can I have a follow-up question with that? Would you want to do other league comps besides WNL?
Absolutely. And I think what's important for us especially is as these leagues move their finals sites, you can see them trying to bring in new member gyms, right? UNA and FINA have moved theirs from the West 2 years ago from Anaheim. They were in Dallas this year, and next year they're going to be in our backyard. They're going to be 3 hours away at State College in Pennsylvania. So for me, that's a huge opportunity to be able to partner with them, to provide them assistance if they need it, and to provide my athletes a closer finals to be able to attend. So I would absolutely be willing to host FINA's next season as well as UNA's possibly if that opportunity arose. What I fear is that because of the size of WNL in our particular location, it would be detrimental to our bottom line to move away from the WNL, which is where we've been hosting for the last several years and have built a following, to take on the other ones. Obviously, doing both or all of them would be the most advantageous. And even as it goes with NSC, I love that format. But again, because they don't host as many per season, there's obviously no guarantee that any gym is going to be able to be selected to host an NSC. So I think there's a lot of, there's more than what meets the eye, I think, when this conversation starts. And so from my perspective, I'm really waiting to see what happens when the WNL makes a comment on this specifically. And I think a lot of the WNL gyms have their preseason calls coming up in the next week or two. So I think we're going to get some more insight into what they're expecting from us during those calls coming up.
Sure. And thank you for your contribution there. And just for listeners that are tuning in, it was really important to me that there was an equal representation of all of the leagues and different viewpoints of Ninja. So people who are on this call represent the leagues, they represent the gym owners of multiple leagues, not just one of them. And I'm happy that you brought up that WNL is putting out a statement, and it sounds like they just recently put out a statement a couple hours ago. I know that Marisol had brought this to our attention right before we hopped on this call. I would love for you to read that statement if you have it available to you.
It's a general statement on their exclusivity policy, and I'm not on that page right now. It would take me a second, but I just wanted to make sure that you understood it wasn't specific to exactly what is happening right now.
Just whatever that statement was. But if you're looking that up,
I have it up. I'm going to jump through some of the introduction part because I don't think that's as... For over a decade, the World Ninja League has invested in the growth of the sport and supports all organizations working toward that shared goal. The organization's current policies are similar to those of other sport organizations that have sought to prioritize and maintain consistency and brand quality, benefiting both athletes and spectators while abiding by all rules and regulations regarding antitrust and anti-competitive laws. The information provided in this statement is intended to foster an open dialogue and provide a platform for the league to receive feedback from the community. Just so you know, there is a call for people's input. They've requested all stakeholders in these decisions to please respond to them. So that is included at the end of the statement in a submit feedback button. So if you have an opinion, you have the opportunity to submit it there. The league recognizes the importance of encouraging innovation while also maintaining the standards and structure that the community expects and enjoys. As such, the exclusivity policy is designed to ensure that all gyms are committed to prioritizing athlete safety, while also providing a consistent competition experience. Over the past decade, the exclusivity policy has enabled the World Ninja League to do just that by protecting both the integrity of the WNL competition system and the contributions made by WNL's partner gyms, athletes, and event organizers. The WNL requires all affiliated gyms to adhere to rigorous standards before hosting a World Ninja League competition, ensuring the safety, well-being, and overall experience of the community. These required standards include mandated training courses, event and coach certification exams, compliance with a strict code of conduct system, and safety standards such as required background screening and safe sport training to protect our community's youth athletes. The exclusivity policy serves as a framework that encourages gyms to prioritize athlete safety and uphold consistent standards. By agreeing to the policy, gyms commit to meeting key requirements before hosting World Ninja League qualifiers. This shared commitment helps ensure that all qualifying events meet a baseline of quality and safety, supporting a reliable and trusted competition environment across the sport. The WNL's 60-page official rulebook has been developed over the last 10 years with community input. It includes comprehensive rules, standards, and instructions for hosting competitions and for handling various scenarios often encountered at ninja competitions. To support the complexity of hosting ninja competitions, the League has continued to develop extensive training materials to assist facilities. The exclusivity policy upholds the rules and best practices established by the World Ninja League team and provides consistency across competitions. This consistency helps athletes, coaches, and families become more familiar and confident with the league's rules, structures, and formats, and supports the introduction of new formats through repeated experiences. The exclusivity policy has enabled the World Ninja League to openly share tools, resources, and operational knowledge with its network of partner facilities such as scheduling systems, live stream documentation, and vendor recommendations. By protecting these types of shared contributions, the policy supports consistent improvement of local events, contributes to the growth of the sport, and creates more opportunities across the ninja community. Throughout the past decade, other organizations have successfully grown alongside the World Ninja League. This healthy competition has encouraged all leagues, including the WNL, to continually raise their standards, enhance their offerings, and remain responsive to the needs of partner facilities and the community. While the exclusivity policy maintains high standards, it also allows flexibility to support local events and non-competing activities. This flexibility has supported collaboration among state and regional leagues and opportunities to introduce new ideas that differentiate its model from that of the World Ninja League. I think this might be the most important paragraph in the whole statement. The World Ninja League values these local partnerships and remains committed to ongoing dialogue to better support regional needs and challenges. And then this is the call for information. We want to hear from you. The World Ninja League remains committed to aligning itself with the best interests of the ninja community and would like to provide an opportunity for individuals to share their perspectives on the organization's policy. The survey linked below has been created to help the World Ninja League Board of Directors and stakeholders hear the voices of the community and guide informed decisions on future policies. Please take a moment to share your experiences with the organization.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And
So I'm a bit attention deficit. Can anybody tell me what they said?
So what I gathered from it is that they have explained the reasons why they believe they have an exclusivity policy, which is that they're trying to encourage consistency in the sport and safety, different types of safety. And then the paragraph that I mentioned that I thought was probably the most important was opportunities for other organizations. That's the subtitle. And just to go over it really quickly, again, it says that they have supported successfully growing other organizations alongside World Ninja League over the last decade, and that they believe that it's healthy competition that has encouraged all leagues, including the WNL, to continually raise their standards. It does say that they have high standards in the exclusivity policy and that it allows flexibility to support local events. And I think this is the key word here, non-competing activities. I think that phrase could apply to a lot of different approaches for the competitions, whether they think that it is a competing event. The World Ninja League values these local partnerships and remains committed to ongoing dialogue to better support regional needs and challenges, and to introduce new ideas that differentiate its model from that of the World Ninja League. So again, this idea of a model that is very different from theirs and not competing with theirs.
I wanted that to be read and shared because we did reach out to WNL for them to have a representative here on the call, and I have not heard back from them. So I wanted to make sure that their perspective was shared. And a lot of you guys here are WNL gyms. And so this kind of leads me to my next question, right? So if you could speak directly to the WNL leadership, and what would you ask them regarding this policy? Do you feel like it is a benefit or it's a detriment to the gym? What are your guys' perspectives?
I just want to go back to what was previously there. Another thing that I think you guys missed is they also talked about specific vendors. So it's an area where we could no longer see our homemade obstacles that we are getting from different ones, where if they decide to partner with specific suppliers, it's really going to make our lives a little bit difficult on that side of it. And I know for WNL, our national league here in Canada is aligned with them.
I would say as a lot of their standards are safety, making sure that the athletes are safe, the coaches are taking the certifications that they need to. And I know that's one of their biggest priorities. I don't feel that it needs to be an exclusive competition at my gym for me to still do all of those requirements to be able to host the WNL. I think I'm able to continue to take the certifications and do everything that they're requiring us to do, but then I can also then host FINA, I could host UNAA, I could host the leagues that I feel like would also be something that would be great for my athletes to have at my gym. And so I love that the WNL has all those standards for the gyms and for the coaches to make sure that they are quality events, but I don't think that should prevent me from being able to host what I would like to host at my gym.
Anybody else would like to share their perspective on if you could speak directly to the WNL about this policy? Is it good for your gym? Why or why not? And what would you ask them?
We all came into the sport watching athletes collaborate with each other and competitors cheering for each other. You see just like the show, people that maybe they're not going to clear. They're a little bit goofy or they've got a wild personality and they just go for it. And so there's a lot of fun and collaboration. And people ask me all the time about behind the scenes, do people really cheer for their competitors? And I say, absolutely. Not only them cheering, but them giving them data that's going to help them through an obstacle that would mean that they get bumped down. You get bumped down because you helped your competitor do better than you did. And I would ask WNL, how does this policy promote that spirit of the sport that exists, that makes it so much different than other team sports that some of our parents tell me all the time because their kids participate in hockey and soccer. And this is the sport where there is not trash talking, where there is not putting each other down, where there is not this aggressiveness towards your competitors, but there's this unity. And how does this policy promote that spirit that has always existed in the sport and that we all hope continues to be the main staple of the sport of ninja?
The last thing I wanted to say is something that Stephen had touched on, is that he mentioned that he wouldn't be able to not host WNL. And I think that they're using that to their advantage, knowing that there are gyms out there that can't not host them. And I think that's really unfortunate. That's how that's how they're controlling some of the gyms. And unfortunately, I just wish it wasn't that way. And that's the last thing that I'll say about that. And I'll let everybody else jump in.
No, I think that's the main issue, like gym owners and or members of the gyms are having with this rule. That's at the core, that's it. And that's why reading that release or whatever they just submitted, did that even address that? I don't even know.
I think my challenge is it almost seems arbitrary, right? You can look at who the partner leagues are, right? Texas Ninja League, CNL, Women's Ninja Association, right? NINA was in there, the New England Ninja Association, North Carolina, Wolfpack. And up until this year, again, or up until next year, I suspect, NSC as well. And I think that would be my only question. It just seems arbitrary. Is it based on any data? Because they always talk about data when you talk to them on their league calls. If a league gets to a certain size or if a competition gets to a certain size, is that when it overcomes the mark of being a friendly growth opportunity versus being a competitor? I don't know.
I think I would like to see them go more toward what the rock climbing community has. Take a look at rock climbing, very similar in terms of competitors to how Ninja is. They all really encourage one another, but there's so many different rock climbing leagues, and none of them have this exclusivity clause. They're all happy to continue to grow the sport, and it almost seems like they're trying to contain it down, and I'm not sure why they're doing it. It doesn't make sense at all. I found the UNAA is far more open, far more transparent. They're willing to work with almost everybody. They're the first ones that really brought all of the competitions together. When they brought, was it last year or the year before? It was the first one for UNAA, FINA, WNL to all be in the same place. It was awesome. And I'm not sure.
Yeah, Bob, could you speak to that? Why is UNAA not exclusive?
We've never thought of even being exclusive. It was never even a concept to us, because if you own your gym, you should be able to choose whatever league you want. So that concept never even entered our minds. And as it got further along, we realized cost-wise, it's difficult to go to many different finals events. You have 5 finals events. Which one do you choose? So it made sense to start reaching out to some of them and say, hey guys, why don't we combine our world finals so that it saves people from having to go to multiple events? So we reached out to Phoenix, joined with us, and then we reached out to USA Ninja and they joined with us. And USA Ninja will be joining again next year. And so it's been easy to combine them because we know that saves people a lot of time and money. And now they can qualify for multiple events. They don't have to go to 5 world finals, but instead just a couple. And WNL, obviously being their own, that's fine. We're the only league that started as exclusive from almost day one, because both of our leagues, WNL and UNA, were the first leagues. And I think they immediately saw us as a threat, and they call it competition, which is fine, but competition is healthy. I know a lot of our gyms would love to do a WNL competition, but they're too committed to UNA, they're not going to switch. So it would benefit WNL, especially look at the West Coast. There's so many West Coast gyms that would love to do a WNL, but they're still too strong in UNA, and vice versa. I think they just feel the competition is too much and that they're going to lose more than they gain. But I disagree. I think all the leagues would gain by just opening it up. A gym should have a choice. Which leagues do you want to do? You should be able to choose whatever leagues you want. If you want to do one of them, that's your choice. If you want to do all of them, that's your choice. And it doesn't change WNL's restrictions. They still have to qualify you as a gym. So if the Grip in Utah decided, I want to be WNL, but WNL chooses, we don't think you're quite that quality a gym, which obviously it wouldn't be the case because they're one of the top quality gyms in the country. But if they did, then they don't have to make them a WNL gym. There's no requirement, because it's open, for them to have to be a WNL gym. They still get to hold their restrictions. So that's the part that never made sense to me. That was always their reasoning. I used to call Chris all the time and say, hey, why do you keep this exclusivity? Let's open it up. As they say, what's the saying with all boats rise with the higher tide or whatever? If you include everybody, all of us are going to rise. We'll all increase. And I just don't understand the reasoning, other than just it's a threat. And they feel like by not allowing other gym or leagues into those gyms, they hold that league tight, which again, I think it's hindering. It's not only hindering the growth of overall Ninja, but it's even hindering their growth, because they could be huge in the West Coast. They're not very big in the West Coast. They could be huge, but they're not, because gyms are still doing UNA and BNAP. So it would open up a huge opportunity for everybody. But I don't understand the reason for restriction. It makes no sense to me.
We have a large gym in the Midwest with hundreds and hundreds of competitive athletes, and we have a lot of athletes interested in WNL. We're not currently a WNL gym, but we would essentially have to give up so much of what we already do to host just a single WNL competition and stuff. And I think in the past, there was a lot of barriers with the WNL, just the cost alone to get our gym, our coaches, and our families to the East Coast was like really expensive versus what the other leagues were doing. And that's changed now. I think with it being in Greensboro, for our city in South Dakota, we can get there much more cost effectively now. But for a long time, that was a big hindrance as well. And I feel like that's Bob was talking about. They struggle to grow on the West, and in the Midwest, it's not as big as it could be. And it's simply due to these clauses. I know a lot of our athletes that want to compete in it, they have to travel a lot and travel far. And if we didn't have the clause, we could host a qualifier for the WNL. I wouldn't have an issue with it. So the problem isn't with just, we're always wanting to do what's best for our families and providing multiple opportunities, multiple leagues. But with the exclusivity clause, it is just not even feasible for us to do that, especially financially as well for the gym.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Rachel. I would love to hear from a W&L gym that would like to speak on this topic. Again, the question is, if you could speak directly to the W&L leadership, what would you ask them regarding this policy?
And to add to that, from a gym owner's perspective, this is coming from the members. They want to do other leagues. Ninjas want a ninja. They want to compete. They're not wed to a certain league. They just want to, when you get higher level ninjas, they want to compete everywhere that everybody else is competing. And it puts the gyms in a tight spot when they're looking at the numbers like, okay, do I do this one? Do I do that one? So there's a lot of perspective to look at. That's why we're having this conversation, is like, what is the overall perspective and whose opinion should we take into consideration when we're picking the leagues or competing at leagues? Because if it was up to the ninjas, we'd do every single league there is and we'd do it every weekend.
You nailed that. It's so true. Yeah, I've been running the Guardians group for about 5 years, and out of curiosity, I asked myself, how am I relevant to this conversation amongst all the owners of the leagues and the gyms and the coaches? And I realized, I did a little calculation. I put in about 30 hours a week monitoring my page. I calculated that out to about 7,800 hours that I've put into moderating my group. And over that amount of time, I have learned, I would say, a little bit about how parents feel, and through the parents, their children. And you are absolutely correct. They just want to play. They just want to be on as many obstacles and as many courses as they possibly can. Some parents are able to afford to take their kid everywhere. Some parents cannot, and those decisions can be made on individual family basis. But at the end of the day, the more opportunities that are out there, the better for the parents and the families.
And I think to add to that, one of the cool things is that since each league has its own unique set of rules, it really makes each particular event unique in and of itself. If all the leagues had the same exact rules, then it wouldn't make as much difference if you can only do one versus the other. But because some favor some skills or benefits some athletes different than others, right? Some are going to be geared towards the maybe better athletes. Some are going to be maybe catered to a middle of the road athlete. And I think that's what makes it better, right? As you said, it gives more opportunities for more people if there's more leagues out there for the participants to take advantage of.
I would say also, Stephen, it's not just about a higher quality athlete versus a mid-quality athlete. It's also about different skill sets. Some athletes are more geared towards speed. Some are more geared towards strength. On a course, you can have a lot of variation regarding height. And if an athlete falls early because of height, does that really reflect what kind of athlete they are? If there's opportunity for them to gain more points later with more difficult obstacles that maybe a taller athlete wasn't able to get, but they were able to get because they were quote unquote a stronger athlete. I don't think that different leagues are able to tell which athlete is the absolute greatest ninja of all time, although NFC, I think, comes pretty close to that model. But this offers different ways to test your ability as an athlete. And there are a lot of different sizes and abilities, and those are all assessed differently based off the type of courses that you run.
I know for me, I'm a little different than most. I'm a league owner, gym owner, and I have 3 kids competing. So we do WNL, we do FINA, we do UNAA, we do NSC Youth. So we go everywhere. We compete as much as we can. And I love going out there, seeing all the other athletes, getting to talk to parents every weekend, getting to know these other gym owners. Steve's only a couple hours away from us, so I get to know him mostly through WNL and from him coming down to our gym for FINA now as well. But, what I love is, all right, my kids, we go to WNL finals. Guess what? They might be in the younger age group for WNL finals. But guess what? Next month, we're going to FINA UNA finals. We're in the older age group now. So you have those 2 different things to look forward to. WNL, they have their 3 stages. Us for FINA, we really focus on, we brought back our speed and endurance, but everyone loves Ninja versus Ninja. We've been doing that for 6 seasons now, and it's a big hit, and we're the only league that does that. and it separates us from other people. And my daughters were going to be flying out to Wisconsin for the sectional for NSC Youth. They're super excited about that. Going into it as a parent, I love having multiple leagues out there. Being out of Cleveland, we're fortunate enough to have every league within a short drive. I could drive 30 minutes to a WNL comp, 30 minutes to a UNAA comp, a FINA comp. NSC Youth is in Pittsburgh, which is an hour and a half away from us here, coming up here in August. So we're fortunate where we're at because there are a lot of gyms, but we hear so much through FINA that we want to compete, but we don't have a gym near us that offers FINA. We want to be a part of that, about that team that we put together. We want to be a part of that atmosphere that FINA has for their finals, and UNAA brings, and USA Ninja brings to the finals. And that's for us. We're really trying to get more to the East Coast because, again, UNAA's opened up all their gyms to allow them to host FINA, and that's worked really well, and gyms really appreciate that. Our gym in particular, we do UNAA and FINA, and that makes our months when we have those competitions. That's a big income stream for us. And just, it's hard, and Jen will tell you the same, that it's hard hearing athletes telling us all the time, please, if you can please try and get us some East Coast gyms. Try and get some other gyms that we can not drive 5-6 hours to go to a FINA competition. We want to be a part of it, but there's just nothing near us to compete at, any gyms. And so for us, we've set up a board of a bunch of gyms. We go through that board. We have meetings all the time because we want to do what's best for the gyms, the community, the athletes. And that's one of the things we hear most of from the athletes. And like, it kills us inside that we cannot support them in that manner. If I could go build a gym in every state, I would, and then host FINA and UNAA and NSC Youth for anyone to have the ability to go to it. But I can't do that. And
Kyle,
I'm hoping that one day it is open for all of us to be able to host the comps that the leagues allow the gyms to host. That being said, mentioned, if a league chooses a gym, maybe it's not up to the standards that they want, that's fine. They don't have to choose that gym. But if a league does feel that they do meet their standards and the qualifications that we have set forth, or the league has set forth for them, then I do believe they should have the ability to make that decision on their own.
Kyle, a question for you as a league owner and other league owners that are here represented on the call. Whose input do you take in consideration when you're making these rules and policies for the league? What kind of accountability measures do you guys have in place to see this kind of brought to life?
Like I said, we have a board it varies every year, 10 to 15 gym owners across the United States and Canada, that we constantly get their opinion on what they're seeing in their gyms, what they're seeing in their regions, what the athletes are saying, what the parents are saying. And we take all that to heart, and we want to create a platform that meets those needs, knowing that we can't do everything that people are looking for. But that's really where we, and I know other leagues, not just us, really try to put the community first.
I would add to that for anybody on the call is, why do we think this is an issue now?
For us, again, Jen and I, we've taken over the league 2 years ago now. And one of our first calls was to WNL. And we have continually talking with them, and we set up meetings, and we have a lot of communications back and forth. And I believe they're trying to work out a situation where gyms can be open to host in other leagues. We're trying to be the olive branch. We have meetings with every different league owner we have out there, and it may eventually happen. And I know just right now they've done some things it sounds like, to push away the NSC Youth from being in their gyms, which I don't feel is the right way for Ninja to be going in that direction. Again, that's not my league, and they can do what they choose to do. But all in all, we're trying to talk to all the league owners, and again, WNL, they're constantly communicating with us, and we're trying to work through any type of difficulties that we have through Ninja and how we can open that up. We're not there yet, maybe eventually. But they have been very cordial for us, and they've been very accessible for communications and meetings.
So Jim,
Yeah.
league owners, what is the pathway forwards? What would you like to see out of a solution like this? If you had it your way, how would you like to see this go forwards?
If I'm able to speak, I think the only solution, there's really not a solution. It's all in WNL's hands, obviously. But to me, the only solution is when gyms band together and decide we're not going to do WNL if you don't open it up. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I'd love to see that happen because I think that would affect them enough to know, wow, we lost 20 gyms because they're refusing to be exclusive and they're standing up for it. And this has been going on with UNA for 9 years, and a lot of people don't like it, but WNL gyms are afraid to stand up for it. And I fully support that. I understand that. They pull in a couple hundred athletes per competition. They can't afford to lose that and switch over to UNA, and they may only pull in 50 or 60. And they're aware of that, so they're afraid to do anything. So it would be a band of all gyms coming together and just saying, enough is enough. You need to lift the exclusivity because there's no reason for us to be restricted on only one league. I just don't know if that'll ever come together, but that's the only solution I ever see coming together because it sounds like they pretty much made up their mind. They're going to hold to their exclusivity. And unless enough gyms affect their bottom line or enough people, and even people can't really affect it. People say people just need to stop competing in WNL if they don't support it. That's not fair to the people because they want to do WNL. WNL's a great league. They have a great finals event. They don't want to stop. Gyms don't want to stop. But some of the gyms could possibly band together and stand up and say, there's no reason to have this exclusivity. We want to be able to have choice to do NSC, FINA, UNA, whatever leagues we choose, that should be up to us without being penalized and WNL cutting them off. So,
yeah, Bob.
Don't know if that could ever happen,
really,
but that's the only solution.
Really quick on that, Bob, I'll be honest with you, I don't want to see that happen. I don't want gyms to pull away from WNL. I want more gyms to do WNL. I want more gyms to do FINA, more gyms to do UNAA.
No, you're misunderstanding my. Don't.
No, I know what you're saying, but you're trying to force the hand. I would rather everyone that's watching this go and put your input on their whatever the link is at the bottom of their letter now. Give their input and say, hey, we want gyms to be able to host other leagues.
But Kyle, that's happened. I've been doing this 9 years. It's happened for 9 years. People have been putting in their input. I've had so many gyms reach out and say, and these are high level, top level gyms saying, we want to do WNL. What do we have to do? And their answer was, you got to drop UNAA.
I think too that one of their big reasons has always been the standards that the leagues offer. And I'll tell you right now, I know FINA has one of the highest standards that we offer for our gyms. And so I don't think that's a talking point anymore for them. And maybe if they hear the people and hear the gym owners and the athletes, and they can go back and we can all as league owners, have a conversation together and just help move the sport of ninja forward in a united way.
Like I said before, I am all for if every one of our UNAA FINA gyms said we want to do WNL too, as Kyle, we'd be wide open to it. I think that would be great. I think it would grow the sport because now you're opening it up to all different leagues, all different people from different areas that may have focused on one league or another. Now they can do all the leagues. It would grow the entire sport across the board. For whatever reason, WNL doesn't see that, but it would. And so, yeah, I'm wide open to, I would invite all of our UNA gyms to say, yeah, reach out to WNL. They're a great league. It'd be cool if you could host one of their competitions also.
Bob, Kyle, I appreciate your guys' perspective from the leagues. I would love to hear from the gym owners specifically, about this.
So while we have the league guys on here, I run a very small gym in comparison to the biggest one in Alberta, as far as I know, is FitSet Ninja currently, which is an incredible gym. The reason we haven't tried a FINA comp yet is because the way that you guys have it set up doesn't work with our gym, and we are 4 to 4.5 hours to our next closest gym, which is FitSet, 8.5 hours to the next gym. I would like to see a little bit more of some sort of structure we could run comps for FINA. I know Bob has been amazing with us. He's put up with a lot of crap from me, and it's been real, and he's been awesome with it. We ran one of theirs, but I think there's a lot of smaller gyms that, or a lot of people may look at opening up a small gyms in these East Coast, as you've said, where you're trying to get some kind of influx into. But how would they reasonably do that with your leagues and be able to run an effective competition in a small gym with the way that you're currently set up?
Really quick, just on the FINA perspective of it. Although we offer an endurance and a speed course, the gyms aren't required to host both at the same time, or they could do one or the other. If they want to just have a speed competition, they're more than welcome to do that. If they just want to have an endurance competition, they could do that as well. So every competition does not need to be a doubleheader.
Yeah. And there's a joke there because Lacey was talking about when we met years and years ago, they came to my original Conquer Ninja, which was a very small gym. Size doesn't matter. Oh, that's a joke. Anyway, Jen.
Yes, just to also speak to that, as like Kyle said, we took over the league. It's actually less than 2 years ago. And we've worked really hard to create that type of transparency and outreach. We have smaller gyms on our board. We're very intentional about making sure that we have representation from not only all swaths geographically, but from also like large gyms, small gyms, ones that are more like gymnastics side and they're just starting Ninja, so that we are able to speak to the whole community and hear where all of them are. As Kyle said, we're always very happy to work with gyms, and we're just starting our push into Canada. So I would love to connect with you after this call. Just email me. I have a WNL gym who has texted me directly and asked me to read their statement, as they felt that it might be helpful to hear from another WNL gym on this perspective. So I just want to read their statement for you guys. I think it fits into what's being said here. It says, I host WNL because they provide a good quality finals production. I want the ability to host all leagues. The more leagues I can host is the more my athletes can train and become better across the board. In response to the WNL statement, if my gym was chosen as a WNL gym, it doesn't matter what the other leagues' processes are. We were selected because WNL thought we hold a quality and safety standard. That is where the exception is. My gym would never lower standards of a safe and fair competition just because other leagues might not give the same high standards. And I just think that really speaks as well to a philosophy of Kyle and I. We believe that the league exists to serve the gyms and the families and the athletes. Like, that's our job, is to create the best possible competition area for our gyms, athletes, and families. We support our gyms as much as possible because ultimately we need them. We're providing what we think is the best possible product, but ultimately it's our job to support the gyms. And as that statement says, I also believe that a gym hosting a high quality, high safety standard doesn't change regardless of which league it is that they're choosing to host it with. That is a reflection, I believe, of the gym and the owners.
Yeah, as a gym owner, my ear is to our parents and athletes, and the parents have been weighing in on this over the last day or two. And the big thing they've expressed is they're disappointed. They came into this sport finding it as a breath of fresh air because of the collaboration. And what they want for their students, for their kids, is opportunities for them to compete in a variety of competitions. And we've had kids travel every weekend, and some do, hey, we just competed in Orlando, but there's a comp tonight in New York, so we can make it if we get through this one quick enough. And they just want to compete. They just want to be out there having a good time, getting better in a sport that encourages them to be great people and to encourage their opponents. For us, when we host a comp, the comp is a different experience based on who's competing. If it's an NSC, like, we're bringing a different level of difficulty. If it's a WNL and we have kids, we want them to be, the parents to be able to come in and out quickly, have food trucks and face painting and ice cream. And it's just a fun, exciting day. We also have comps for kids with special needs. And the kids are boosted up to the obstacles and spotted through, and everyone gets a medal. And so it's a different experience. But for us, like, safety and quality are always our number one concern. It's different based on who we're hosting. And and different audiences love the variety that we're able to offer.
I think you both said something there, Jen and Jason. This is what the members, you're looking at what the members, the ninjas, the families are asking for. And that's, as gym owners, as league owners or representatives, that's what we got to be thinking about all the time.
I think going based off of what Kyle and Bob were saying, they were talking about like, how do we fix this? How do we make the change? My worry is based on what WNL just posted, said, reach out to them with your concerns. And in the perfect world, Kyle, it would be best if we reached out and then they listened to us and then they took away the exclusivity. My concern is that we as gym owners stop talking to each other and we reach out to WNL because they open that up to us and then now nothing changes. And so I just don't want gym owners to stop talking about what they want and starting to work together and potentially band together because they think that the WNL is going to listen and make a change. I hope it happens, but I hope that they continue to do both. They let the WNL know what their feelings are, but then the gyms still talk to each other and talk about what they think is best for the community as a whole, because I don't know if it will change unless we do come together and voice our opinions with each other as well.
Jess, you're probably not wrong. I've just always been a glasses half full kind of guy, I guess.
It would be great. It would be great, but I just don't want that opportunity to be missed because we sit back and we think that change is going to happen and then it doesn't, and then the new season starts and now we are still in the same boat where now we are definitely having to choose between the leagues, and I don't think it should be how we're doing it anymore.
I'm curious, you guys, we're all on social media, right? Is the WNL not? Because I'm pretty sure the whole trending topic this last week was this. Like, how many responses do they actually need to take into consideration? So we need to specifically go to their email because it's all over social media in the ninja world.
Yeah.
That's why that release I felt was a little insincere.
And that's what I think is with all of the responses that they have gotten over the past few days and then continuing to release that today shows me that's maybe what they're sticking to. And that's my concern.
Your voice is heard in this. We have started a petition. Last I checked, had over 300 responses on it. I'll go ahead and throw it in the live stream chat here so that you can find out where to sign that. But that is a way for you to represent your voice, and we will be delivering it to the leadership of WNL for them to have that in their hands.
To reiterate, WNL was invited. We reached out several times to try to get them on this call, that our representative. So it's not the case. And we're not here to bash WNL or anything. It's just the trending topic, and ninjas and gyms are concerned about it. We wish WNL was joining us or on here to talk through this because we're trying to figure out where they're coming from.
Allie, since you had mentioned numbers, I did want to mention that just this morning I submitted a request for a poll on my site asking if you had a chance to vote on the WNL exclusivity clause, what would it be? And I had 4 options. The clause is good, the clause is not good, it's complicated, and I'm waiting to hear from WNL. We have about 3,500 members. They're all completely vetted, so I don't let anybody in if they don't meet the qualifications. So there's no spam on my site, and everybody is very engaged. We had in just a few short hours a 12% engagement, so 12% of the people responded, and it was overwhelming that they felt it was not good. Close to 400 people said that it was not good, which was 92%. 6% said that they're waiting to see what the WNL releases. 1% said it's complicated, and then 0% said that it was good. So if you are putting together some type of package to share with WNL when you reach out to them, be happy to share the results of this poll with you.
Hey guys, I just want to jump in and say thank you for putting this together. I just want to state again, for those that missed it, Chris and I were asked at the beginning to speak. And I think our biggest thing, and Chris, please feel free to jump in, is that our hope is that everyone, families, athletes, gyms, gets to be the ones that decide what they host, what they compete in. Because like I said at the beginning, when I was an athlete, I wanted to compete in everything that was available, and I did my best to do. And I think we feel, NSC feels pretty adamant that no league, and that includes NSC, should be really in charge of deciding that for the community. And we hope that moving forward, it'll be the community that gets to decide which events that meet their standards, not just any one specific leagues. But thank you again. Chris, again, feel free to jump in if I'm misrepresenting or anything you want to add, but I do have to run. But thank you for inviting me, and thank you for putting this together.
Thank you, Ethan.
Just to echo what Ethan is saying, the thing that he said at the end there is the standard should be up to the community to decide, I think. And that's really the key. If you're not putting a good standard out as your product, then the community is going to let you know, because they're not going to sign up for it and you're not going to be able to survive. I don't know that a league should be able to say that this standard is a competitor's standard is not good enough to meet our standard, and then strong arm the owners into doing something. Yeah, I think that's just where we're coming from. I feel proud of the product that we've put together. I feel proud of what we've accomplished in the Ninja community in our 4 years of existence. I look at other leagues and I look at the world finals that FINA and UNAA, and I give props to Bob, who's tried to be collaborative. We tried to include NSC. He reached out to us as well to join. It just didn't work out logistically for us, but he's been very open. He hosted at his gym a NSC youth competition, so he's clearly putting his money where his mouth is in terms of the collaboration side. And at the end of the day, I also think WNL hosts an amazing World Finals, and I think those options should just be available to the community. And that's really all we're asking for at the end of the day, is that those things are left to the community to decide. So,
well said. Thank you, guys.
I have a couple community questions, and this chat's been going on, so there's lots of things going back and forth here in terms of different perspectives. But I did ask Marisol to be on here to host a parent perspective. She hosts the American Ninja Warrior Guardians Facebook group, which is an awesome collaborative group of parents. And so as a parent, what are your goals that you have in mind when you're having kids participate in competitive ninja sports? Do you feel like these goals are being met by the league?
Are you asking me on a personal level?
Yeah, and
okay.
You could speak personally and then maybe as a collective for the perspective of Ninja parents.
Sure. So on a personal level, what I want from my daughter when she competes, either at a competition or at a Worlds event, is to feel supported, to feel like the obstacles are age and level appropriate for their group. I wouldn't expect at her age to be put on an elite course. So it's important that the courses are appropriate and that the role models at the gym reflect the founding principles of what Ninja is. This has already been stated previously. Just to reiterate, yes, our children cheer for each other, even when it means that it's possible that they themselves could then be bumped down. And that is a unique behavior that you don't see reflected in a lot of other sports. So the gyms that provide the training and the competitions, it's important to me that they reflect the same. If I ever saw my coach or one of Susie Q's coaches talk bad about another athlete or say anything negative or discourage us from supporting them, and my daughter is so blessed because of these worldwide competitions. She has been blessed with relationships and friendships that span continents. And those are kids that are competing directly against her. Have I ever heard my coach ever whisper to Susie Q, Beta, and not let her friends listen? No, never. If they're with my daughter, they're with him. And so to me, that's very important that that behavior is reflected across the breadth of the entire sport. On a personal level. In my role as the manager or founder of Ninja Warrior Guardians, I would say that is reflected amongst many of the parents. I would like to say that parents are concerned about safety. And one of the questions that always gets brought up when this exclusivity conversation pops up, because this is not the first time, is the concern about safety, the safe sport, et cetera. And I 100% agree that safety is important in the league. I think the problem, and this has also been addressed, is that in the same breath that you're saying that that is very important, you're also saying that gyms that have done it cannot host other leagues. So there's a disconnect in that logic that is difficult for a lot of the parents to understand. But I don't think any parent doesn't want the safety standards in place.
There's a lot going back and forth around safety, safe sport. What do the leagues think about this happening in the chat right now? So curious as to the perspective from the league owners, if you guys would like to address this. How do you feel like you address safety? Do you feel like it's something that is a cornerstone of what you do for a league?
I will say one of the first things Kyle and I did when we took over the league is we went through the rules to see actually what the guidelines were, and we immediately updated it to add safety pieces that were not quite at the level that we thought would be at the best for the athletes. So we have matting standards, we have first aid standards in our rules, and we also require that there is at least one safe sport trained person who is running all of our competitions. They have to submit that certificate to us before they can run their competitions, or we have to have it on file. And we tell them that the WNL certification works as well because that includes their safe sport. We're not requiring them to double certify anything like that. We'll take it. It's the same. That was something we had actually planned to roll out a little bit slower, and then we went ahead and pushed it right to the forefront to make sure that we were being as safe as possible that way. So we take safety extremely seriously, and we're doing our best to put out those stringent guidelines in a way that is effective for our gyms, that we're not forcing these huge, massive monetary upgrades for them, but making sure that we're keeping our athletes absolutely as safe as possible. I train technical officials at the international level, and the number one thing that I teach them is that athlete safety is always our number one priority, always. And that is consistent across the board. And I think that we at least do our best to make sure that is always our number one priority.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of safety. That's what the WNL is going with here. And I'm looking at some of the comments here, you guys. Like, what gyms? There's lots of gyms and lots of competitors. I don't know any gym that I've ever heard of or talked about that wasn't concerned about safety. So is that what they're going with here? Because I don't think there's any leagues even on this call that are not concerned about safety.
I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag, but from what I have heard in my group, there is concern regarding some of the possible abuse that occurred a few years back. I think everybody pretty much knows what that is, and concerns regarding who's being allowed to compete, who might not meet safe sports standards.
So we're talking background checks. I mean, that I think everybody could agree you could simply have background checks. We do as a brand for our staff and representatives. That's not a big ask.
I agree.
That's relevant. Any other gyms like safety things? Is that really a concern in the sense of that's not something you really think about? No matter if it's your own comp or league?
I'm pretty sure every gym has to have a huge concern about safety. Anyone who has to sign an insurance policy, anyone who's at a ding because someone tripped in their parking lot, and that doesn't even take into account these larger allegations of abuse, which would absolutely ruin a gym. No, there's not a single gym out there that doesn't care about safety. We all want to implement it properly. Anyone that's running a competition is always doing everything they can in order to make sure that it's safe. Regularly, we have coaches helping us. Hey, it looks like you might need a pad there. Can I help grab something for you while you're reffing? That's where the community helps out as well. As we can't always see everything happening all the time, but there's not a single owner or coach out there that doesn't have safety at the forefront of their mind.
Agreed.
I've seen a question here that looks to be repeated, and maybe Chris, you might be able to shed some light on this. Why is NNL or WNL allowing NSC Pro but not NSC Youth?
All I can say is that I've not been contacted regarding any of the exclusivity. I wasn't contacted about the youth. I haven't been contacted about the pro. So I really don't have any explanation as to why one might be allowed versus the other, to be honest.
Sure. What would you like to see out of the change of this?
At the end of the day, I think it's important for the gyms to have a voice. And I think it's important that if you're putting a good product out there, that people have the opportunity to have access to you. And I think that having access to a lot is great, which we've talked about a lot in this call. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think it's just making the voices heard, making the gyms are on the same page. And this is something that they don't feel is right, then they decide a good course of action and our community isn't affected by this. I think that's just ideal. At the end of the day, NSC is really just focused on what NSC is doing. Like I said, we mentioned other leagues. We went and streamed UNAA a few years back. We're open to collaborating and seeing other things grow. And we feel like we just want to put out what we think is a good product. We felt like when we came out with our format, it was different. We provided something new to the community that didn't exist before that. So we didn't feel like we were stepping on any toes. And it's just we believe in that's how it should work. It's just you should put forward what you want to put forward, and if other people see the vision, they respect it, they appreciate what you're doing, then they should have access to it. Is really all we're asking for.
Sure.
Yeah, it's the growth of the sport. Things are progressing. Go back 5 years ago, things are much different than they are now than they were then, or even 7, 8, 9 years ago. There's more players, things have progressed. One of the comments here is no one is saying boycott the gyms. They're saying gyms may need to boycott WNL. No, I don't think we're saying boycott WNL. I mean, WNL is a great league. It's just ninjas want a ninja. Let them ninja in other leagues too. Unless somebody is saying boycott WNL, but I don't think we are.
No.
I think I've seen comments in responses to some of the information that's come out as that being an option. Just like gyms theoretically have a choice to choose which leagues they host competitions for, parents and athletes have the ability to choose which competitions they go to. I would agree that I think most people have said it. I know Kyle definitely said it earlier, that our first option should be open and honest communication with all of the leagues. Let's try to do this in a way that makes sense for everybody. So I think the first response is let's do everything we can to let all the leagues know what our preference is, which is going to be openness to competition and no exclusivity amongst the leagues. That makes the first sense. And then if that falls on deaf ears, or if that doesn't work, then you can go for another more nuclear option. But I don't think that's going to benefit anybody.
Sure. So just to be respectful to everybody's time here, we are going to be wrapping this up, but there are a couple people here on this call that have not had a chance to speak yet. And so I wanted to give them the opportunity to voice their opinion on this matter. Lewis, Meg, Kelly, have any statement on what you feel about the exclusivity agreement with WNL, or how it affects your gym, and why you would like to share your opinion?
I don't think anything that is new. We hosted UNAA and FINA for 2 years, and we switched last year to WNL. And this was before getting to know Jen and Kyle, which we continue to have a good relationship with Jen and Kyle. We love them, but just interested to just hear WNL's feedback. And the reason that we switched over to WNL was, honestly, we're a smaller gym, but we have a growing community and we listen to the parents. Our parents said that they would to be challenged a different way with a different league. And so we decided to go WNL. And with WNL, there wasn't a lot of representation. We do know Jason and Lacey and love them up at 605. They were UNAA, and there wasn't a lot of representation of WNL. So since then, we talked with Scott and Scott Barons and Ninja U, and they've gone WNL as well. There's a little WNL flag in the Midwest right now, but yeah, very interested, and it would definitely help if WNL did pull that exclusivity clause, because we'd love to be able to go back. And Kyle, you and I know we've talked multiple times. We'd love to be able to host because our Ninja community loves that format. But yeah, that's all we've got from Omaha.
Thanks, Louis.
I'd like to say that if you were to ask my daughter about this, she would have no clue. So we don't have to drag our kids into this. They can be blissfully unaware. And I just want to remind people that when our kids find out about what we've been talking about, it's because the parents have been talking to their kids. So just let's try to keep the positivity for them so that they don't get dragged into it. My kid loves WNL. I love WNL. I want to reiterate that to everyone because it is a fantastic league and they've done an incredible job. We just want, so many of you have said already, we just want to play at all of the leagues. The kids just want to play, and that's the most important. Oh, and the adults too. Sorry, I don't mean to leave them out, but yeah, that's it.
No.
And thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, good point. This is, again, it's Jim's got to make money to be successful. That's not what this is all about. Leagues got to make, I don't know if leagues make money or not. I don't run one. But it's really about the goals of the members, the ninjas, the families. They're the ones that are bringing the revenue into any of these things. Again, this wasn't about bashing WNL. It's just that was the topic because WNL is a great league. But except for this one thing that really is, at this point, holding ninjas back in one way or another.
For us at Jungle Gym, our number one thing is not putting kids on the podium, but developing character. And our number one character quality is honor, which we define as honor puts you before me. And the way we see it is it starts at the top. And it's our job to help keep that accountability throughout the entire sport, of the spirit of camaraderie, of love, of caring for each other.
Jason here, but for me, all I really want to say is that our gym, we're big on, hey, trying one thing. And if we make a mistake or it's not the right avenue, then we just change our mind, and changing your mind is okay. And if I would have to say anything to the WNL, I would just ask them, why not just drop the clause for 1 year, 1 season, see what happens. And if you change your mind at a later date, at least you gave that effort that everybody wants to see.
That's smart. I like that. They can always change it back.
Yeah. Yep. Seems simple to me.
Any last final thoughts to be wrapping up to speak to the ninja community as a whole?
I just want to say that my kids, some of their best friends are ninjas from other states, and they get to see them at hotels, at competitions, and that kind of stuff. And that's why we do what we do. We do it because the kids love it so much. And this conversation shouldn't have to happen. We're having it, which is healthy. I don't think anyone here is trying to talk ill about any other leagues, any other gyms, any athletes. We're having an open conversation, and what I would have loved WNL to been on here, just to be a part of this communication that we're all having together right now, and maybe another time that will happen. But if it wasn't for the athletes and just the excitement of the sport, I don't think any of us would be doing what we're doing right now. Whether it's just parents, gym owners, league owners, we're doing it because we love Ninja, and we see how much it affects our kids, other kids, neighborhood kids. And that's what we're here. And that's why for FINA, and Jen could say a little bit about this too, we're starting a adaptive program as well. We're kicking that off for helping the athletes that have been lost in the mix. They can't do everything that the rest of us can do. And again, that's why we're here. That's why I'm here. And I think that's why most of you guys are here, is because we love the sport. We want to see it grow. We want to give our kids, our gyms, the ability to do and compete however often and wherever they need to compete. And we don't want our parents having to fly to every competition because there's nothing nearby for them. We want to be able to open that up. And Again, we're here for the community. We're here for Ninja as a sport.
Oh, great stuff. One question came up, or something came up on the chat here. So if they did lift the clause and gyms could host their comps, but you already do other comps as gym owners, or would you stop doing other comps? Or would you stop if you were allowed to do UNA or FINA? Would you stop doing WNL comps? Because I don't think we'll do WNL and we'll do the other ones. If that's their concern, they would lose
Now,
people.
you wouldn't stop, but the fear would be if you had enough time and resources to say do 3 over the course of the season, and you did all 3 for WNL right now today, what would happen if you did allow for NSC, UNA, or FINA? Maybe they would take 1 or 2 of those spots, and so instead of hosting 3 WNLs per season, which is what you were able to do, now you're only going to do 1. I think that's where the fear would come from, is that gyms can only host so many. And
Sure.
right now they're hosting a lot. They're WNL. They're exclusively doing WNL. So they would cut back on WNL in favor of doing 1 of each of the different leagues.
No, that's valid.
But maybe that one WNL comp that you have has twice as many athletes as you would normally have, because you are limiting how many comps you have for that league at your gym.
I would completely agree with that, because we've seen gyms that do have 1 per month, and their 1 per month tends to draw a decent crowd, but not nearly as much as when they only did 1 or 2 for the entire season.
No, it's good dialogue. A lot of things to consider.
Thank you guys for being a part of the Ninja Gym Owners Roundtable, sharing your perspectives, your opinions, and those of you guys who are watching on live, or if you're watching this after, a couple things that you guys can do to be involved in this. We do have a petition out to go against the exclusivity clause for WNL. You can go in and sign that. I would urge you to go to the WNL's website, submit your experience with this, your opinion about this. How you can be involved is showing your support by your opinion, as well as sharing this conversation. I think something that came out of this is that gym owners should be continually talking together, and you guys banding together and having open dialogue. Was happy to host something like this today, but I think going on in the future, if you are a gym owner, connect with the other gym owners that are in your community and what you guys can do to have conversation about this. Jake, any other last thoughts you'd like to add?
Thanks a lot, you guys. This was timely, and I'm glad you all were able to hop on and contribute and represent the Ninja community throughout the U.S. for sure. Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of this event today, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.